let's get to our offensive player of the game predictions. I can start us off here. I am going to go. I know we talked about the running back carries earlier. I'm going to go with Khalil Mullings. John Jansen asked on Monday night to Sharon Moore, kind of like maybe giving him a little nudge, like, are we going to see Khalil Mullings more in this game? And Sharon Moore said, yeah, absolutely. I think it only makes sense. I think we'll see a lot of Donovan Edwards as well, but Khalil Mullings deserves more carries. I think we've kind of plowed that ground in recent podcasts. And I think his last game in the Big House will be a pretty strong performance.
I'm going with Colston Loveland in his last game in the Big House. That's just an easy one. Frankly, week after week, you always have a chance, right? Because he's option 1A, 1B, and 1C. So that's my pick this week.
Going to go with a man who has had no shortage of big runs, big moments, maybe the headlining guy that you send out this weekend, Donovan Edwards, with a couple big runs on Saturday.
Okay. I like it. The jinx is over, so I'm not even going to say anything.
We're so far beyond jinx at this point this year.
It's fair. Defensive player of the game. Anthony, start us off. We'll go the other way around.
Defensive player of the game. I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant. I feel like he's a guy that, obviously we know how good Mason Graham has been week in and week out. Just one more tip of the cap to Kenneth Grant. I think he's played almost as well as Mason has this year. Two guys who will be first-round picks this spring.
I'm going with Josiah Stewart in his last game as a Wolverine, and I think he's going to get some pressure, and I think he's going to do some things in there. He's my pick.
I'm going with Mason Graham in his last game. A nice send-off for him. He's like the Colston Loveland of the offense, where it's a safe pick when you take him. I'm going to be just cherishing every last snap we get to watch of Mason Graham. He's got to be one of the all-time favorites, I think, for sure, for a lot of Michigan fans out there. I can start us off with my X factor. So, guys, we have a quarterback that's going to be running around. He's going to try to find some throwing lanes. He's going to keep his eyes downfield. He's going to try to run a little bit. There's a guy who's going to be licking his chops. Number one, Jayshon Barham. I think he's going to, if you spy him on Jack Lausch, I think, he'll be able to kind of hide back there and maybe make a play if he tries to scramble. So I'm going to go with Jayshon.
Just play to the whistle, young man. Don't go any further. That's
the
all
echo of the whistle.
Yes, exactly. The echo of the whistle. And then you'll be okay. So my X factor is Tommy Doman. He needs to have a big day in a game like this. I think that there are going to be a lot of punts. Can't have the short kicks. Otherwise, it's going to keep this a game. Tommy Doman needs to step up and have a big game on Saturday. I think he will.
Ooh, X Factor. How about this one? A little off the board this week. We talked to Mason Curtis this week. It was recruited as a linebacker, then was in the edge room, and they tried him at wide receiver in spring ball. And now he's playing safety, and I think a guy that they're going to want to get an extra look at here, not only these last two regular season games, but during bowl season as well. The ball skills, the size at the safety position is just not something that is that easy to find. So I'm excited to see how he grows, and I think he'll make a big play on Saturday.
He's listed at 6'5". Anthony, what was your estimated? He's got the big hair, so it's hard to tell. Maybe it is the hair. He looked like he might be taller than that. It was just insane for a safety.
Yeah. We have the frame of reference of also going back and forth to basketball. So
right.
I think Yeah. I think he could play small forward for Dusty May tonight and probably be pretty good at it, for being honest. I think he's a legit 6'5", super lanky still. I think you put some muscle on him, I think he's going to be a really good player.
I agree. Final scores. I can start off here. I got Michigan 22, Northwestern 10. I don't know how they're going to get to 22. I don't know why they're going to get to 22. They're going to get to 22. And Michigan wins by 12. So I guess that's covering the spread.
I wouldn't bet against it the way Clay's been betting this year. So I'm going to go 30-10. I think Michigan puts it together and has its most complete game of the year going into Ohio State, understanding what's at stake next week. And last game in the Big House, just a gut feeling. I said last night, or in the staff picks, that could be the Mexican I ate last night too, but that's my gut feeling.
I said 31-10. Again, just a gut feeling, which those haven't served me well. I picked this team to win 10 games when we put the football preview together. But 31-10, play a clean game, don't turn over the football, and give yourself something to hang your hat on going into Columbus next week.
Yep.
The penultimate regular season game the last couple of weeks, which I love just saying that word. I had to get it in. Last couple years. You have the Illinois game in 2022. You have the Maryland game in 2023. But those were when you were rolling, and then you kind of had a little bit of a clunker that you were able to survive in. Maybe this is the opposite. Like you guys are saying, they put it together when they really haven't been able to all year, and then you feel good going into Ohio State. I'm starting to become of the belief that the week before Ohio State has no bearing on how that game plays out. But as you guys just said there, like the vibes will be better if you can play, your best game of the year, even though it's against a weaker opponent, and come out and just kind of have some more confidence going down there. I'm going to write about this next week, but there are a bunch of guys on this Michigan team that have made big plays in Ohio Stadium. So you get them revved up a little bit. I think that could go a long way. We'll see if they're able to keep it close down there. But and I guess that leads us into our final segment. No man knows the future. Pick 5 games here in the college football slate, and we will start with Ohio State. They're hosting Indiana. Ohio State's a 13.5-point favorite. Over-under is 51.5 noon on Fox, one of the games of the day. Indiana's covered pretty much every game this year except the Michigan game. Ohio State, a little banged up on the offensive line. I'm still taking Ohio State. I vowed to do this, Chris, when we were going back to the hotel after the Indiana game. I just was not impressed. I think Ohio State finds a way to make a statement, and then we're all going to be arguing about if Indiana could get in or not.
I think Indiana's going to cover, and I think they're going to give them all they can handle. I don't think they were looking past Michigan, but as Signetti said, he said that we did not play well, and I agree with that. They're a better football team than that. So I like Indiana to be in a fourth quarter game with the Buckeyes.
And we all know what happens when you get the Buckeyes into a 4-quarter game if you have the horses to bring them down. So I am also going to pick Indiana. I think that I don't think Indiana is as good as maybe their early season start indicated. And to be frank with you, I don't think Ohio State's as good as their season is indicated either. I think that you get them in a physical game, you get them in a game where they're unsure of themselves, and I just don't think they have it up front on both sides of the ball. But maybe Indiana doesn't either. But I do think Indiana will cover. Ohio State wins, but Indiana will keep it close.
Next game with Big 12 championship game implications on the line. BYU at Arizona State. Arizona State is a 3-point favorite. Over-unders 48.5. Both teams still alive to make the Big 12 championship game, to make the college football playoff, of course. People are like, Vegas is just begging you to keep taking BYU. They knew that eventually they were going to lose. They did last week to Kansas. I'm going to go Arizona State. I think they're playing pretty well, and BYU was kind of on thin ice there for a while.
Yeah, they were fortunate to beat Utah, frankly, and I like Arizona State at home as well. I think Arizona State's going to handle them, honestly. 10-point win.
I'll go Arizona State as well. Shout out to, I believe, former Michigan State quarterback Sam Leavitt they're led by.
They are. And he honestly looked like the most impressive one out of that group when we saw him last year against Michigan, I thought, and he's having a good year. So
nobody runs off good quarterbacks like Michigan State.
They've got a couple decent ones around the country.
Over the years they have, right?
Yeah,
so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the what's his name for the Eagles?
Yeah, I know.
That won the Super Bowl.
I know who you're talking about. He's so forgettable. However, he did go to Michigan
Napoleon
State.
Dynamite.
Yeah, and they tried to take credit for him. And congratulations, whoever you are.
Here's a picture of him at a spring game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually what they were doing. Yeah,
I know, it's classic.
Next game, Army at Notre Dame. This one with some playoff implications as well. Notre Dame cannot afford to lose. Army is in the AAC championship game. If they win that, they got a good shot at making the playoff. Notre Dame is a 14.5-point favorite in South Bend. Over-under is 44.5. This one's 7 o'clock on NBC. I'm going with Notre Dame. I feel like, Army is tough, but they already did it against Navy and beat them pretty handily. I think they're just going to do the same thing, continue to roll against a really weak schedule.
I think you're probably right, unfortunately. But God bless America. Go get them, boys.
Yes.
Do the best you can and make us proud.
I'll be the one that supports the troops. Then I will take
Right.
Army. I think that this is a perfect laydown spot for Notre Dame, given that apparently I just saw this before we started recording. Some teams in the NFL are kicking around the idea of Marcus Freeman as an NFL head coaching candidate. I think that this weekend we'll be reminded why he probably isn't one.
Or Brian Kelly gets fired at LSU. Maybe
Bring him back.
Marcus Freeman leaves for LSU.
Bring Brian back to Notre Dame.
Yeah, just do a little swap. That'd be the funniest outcome, maybe. Let's move on to the next game. We got two more. Alabama at Oklahoma. Alabama is a 13.5-point road favorite. Over-under is 47.5. 7:30 on ABC. I placed a future this morning on Alabama to win the national championship at plus 800. I thought it was good odds. They beat Mercer last week, and you would think, okay, tune up. You know, they'll start rolling here. Last couple games, SEC, they always do this. It's kind of BS. They have not covered last 3 years in this spot coming off of that cupcake game in November. So I'm going to pick Oklahoma to keep it within a couple scores here.
I like Alabama to roll. I think they win by 3 scores or more.
I'm with Chris. I think Oklahoma is terrible. And hey, next year's game, Michigan at Oklahoma, that could be very important for the coaches on each side of that matchup.
It could, and the rosters will look nothing like they look right now. It'll be interesting to track like everyone, Michigan and who they play next year and how the transfer portal evolves here starting in December. Last game, this is a Big Ten rivalry game. I don't think we would have picked it unless they were in the Big Ten, which they are now. USC at UCLA. I don't know if you guys know, both these schools are in LA. USC is a 4.5-point favorite. Over under is 51.5. 10:30 on NBC. I like that. Like a late start. As we're working on some post-game coverage here. I'm going to go with UCLA. They've been playing a lot better, and I just do not trust USC right now.
Is it a trophy game? What's the trophy?
Yeah, I don't know. Do they have a trophy?
Yeah, who knows? We'll figure it out. Megan, maybe you can get on that.
It's called the You Are Here trophy.
You Are Here trophy. There you go.
LA.
I'm going to go with USC. I still don't think UCLA is very, very good or well coached.
I'm going to go with UCLA. It's a home game, but as we know, Rose Bowl not really always the friendliest home atmosphere for them. Crosstown rivalry. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my rear end at this point. Yeah, we'll go with the Bruins.
Bruins have covered 6 of their last 8 games. They've been improving, and if they win this game, they do get a trophy. It's the Victory Bell, is what they get. According to Wikipedia. So
there you have it.
Right on.
We'll see if they can capture that.